Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Hey, if you're watching this or listening to this, you should know we're golfing and we're having a lot of fun. But we didn't want to leave you high and dry, so we did a Jeff Cameron Show today with fresh content, new content. So this hour is new stuff. Next hour is old stuff. It'll be the interviews from yesterday. If you missed my interview with Dimitri Emanuel, offensive lineman who recently got the waiver to come back and play again this year for Florida State, the news was good for him, and he was delighted to come on and talk about that, along with what this team looks like and how it's been throughout spring. His viewpoint, his vantage point on the sidelines, not being able to participate until he got the waiver, kind of opening some and shedding some light for him. And then also talented young defensive tackle Joshua Farmer joined us as well. So those two interviews will run next hour, and we'll throw a best of in there as well. Well, we're out golfing in order to raise money for the second harvest, and we're happy to do it. And I do want to start today really quickly one more time with a hearty thanks to everybody, but in particular you guys. I've certainly given our sponsors the love they deserve, but I want to make sure you guys know how appreciative Tom are. What transpired on this show yesterday with donations surpassing over $5,000 to go to the second harvest. And that really overwhelmed us. It was a lot more than we anticipated. Tom thought we had a pretty steep goal to try to get to 2,000 in just 2 hours, and you guys crushed it, and it was 5,000. So it was more than 5,000. So it's really rather remarkable, and I thank you.
It's a great day for all when we can give back, and we enjoy that. All ours kind of just loudspeakers to help remind people of the good that's being done in the local community, and it's all on everybody who's out there to respond. And I think what's really cool is since we've launched over here to Warchant TV almost a year and a half ago at this point, you've seen that expand, the generosity expand through the region. We've always had the heartbeat of Tallahassee, and it's a wonderful community and very giving community. But now we have friends from 2 hours west of us, 3 hours south of us, maybe up in Atlanta, who are all pitching in to help these great organizations. And it's just, a lot of stuff that the internet has brought to us is bad. This is one of the good things that the internet has done for us. So to everybody who stepped up yesterday, I mean, it's immeasurable how thankful we are.
It's funny. I saw something. You and I have talked before about, and we had people from all over, by the way, people from all over the country donating yesterday, Knowles everywhere.
Troy's way up there in
the high country.
Yeah,
he's in the high country. But I was thinking about how Tallahassee's our home, and we've talked before about how at some point after you've moved away from, for me, Tampa, St. Pete, same thing for you, really, Clearwater area, all that at some point, you've lived here longer than you lived there, and this becomes home. Usually happens before you reach that number, but it is always odd to me. When I get in the car to leave St. Pete, in my head, I'll say, oh, I'm going home, meaning Tallahassee, and so we love this place. Point is, this is where I live. My kids go to school here. My wife works here. I love it here, all of those things. And you always want Tallahassee to put its best foot forward. You always, because there's plenty of bad in Tallahassee, just like there is in every other city. But I saw something, and it had to do with the spring game, and it was on the heels of our little fundraising thing yesterday. Did Jermaine follow up FSU's tweet after they announced the spring game? I followed Jermaine because and that'll tell you, by the way, I don't follow players all that often. Like I players or whatever, I don't follow pro players all that often. I don't really follow our players all that often. But I do follow Jermaine because his love of this place was infectious. FSU football tweeted out, "See you in Doak on Saturday," and then had Garnet and Gold Spring Showcase, 4 p.m. Tallahassee, Knowles Showcase, all this stuff, right? Keep climbing. And it's a picture of Jordan Travis pointing here. And great shot. Well, anyhow, Tom, I tell you this. He quote tweeted it and said, "I will be there in attendance." Like, my man loves it here. He loves Florida State, and he was here so briefly, and it's just awesome. It makes me smile. Like, he fell in love with this city, that university, these teammates of his, that coaching staff, everything. He just loves it here, and he has said it time and again.
Yeah, it's a cliche that if you're a religious whatever denomination, the greatest person in your faith that you practice is a convert, because they chose before, after they were children, and they made a conscious choice later in life that this is what they want to stand for. And so they probably are the ones that are going to adhere.
Yeah.
You say, I don't know, Catholicism better than I would. Sure, makes sense. But Jermaine is kind of like that as a football player, that he could have gone a lot of places. He had many stops along the way, but he chose us. And then I think even he would say it exceeded his expectations on multiple levels. Whether that's the embracing from the fans, whether that's Coach Norvell keeping his word, perhaps doing more than just that, and then his own draft stock. I mean, he is a confident man, but I wonder if he thought that he would be in first-round draft projections by the time we got to the halfway point in his only season at Florida State. It shot the moon, his time in here, for everybody involved. And I just like that he leans into it. I think it's great that he leans into it. I mean, he gave us equal spacing with Georgia in the lining of his suit jacket on draft night. Remember that?
Yes, he did.
He embroidered Florida State just as big as Georgia, which is just that speaks volumes. And that's pretty cool, man. When guys want to give back, that gets infectious for the next senior that's about to go, or junior who could get drafted early. And that's how we talked about yesterday. It's going to be hard to keep a culture in the NIL landscape. Guys like Jermaine Johnson put us in a great place to survive it as long as anybody could.
I think it's an interesting time while we're on that subject. It will be difficult, and I gave a lot of reasons why yesterday on the show about, trying to sustain excellence, and you're held to the standard of perfection at that point. You have to win the national championship to feel like you had a good season. So we're in the soft spot right now. We're in the sweet spot, I said yesterday, because the team is winning. They're likable. They're hardworking. They give back. They are all in on the climb, and they voice it. They'll talk about it. And they're good around one another. They seem to love one another. All these things are true. It just gets harder, though, because people begin to raid your roster as you have a surplus of players. Jealousies arise. The monies come into play. We talk about that. So, try to enjoy it. But I was also thinking about this. You saw where Georgia is now next, and I don't think they'll be last. I think it's happening very quickly, and do not be surprised if it happens at a rapid rate moving forward in the offseason. And that is, the collectives are starting to be run in-house at the university level. They're the ones now taking it and bringing it in-house. Georgia did yesterday announced that their collective will be run on campus at the university in the athletic department.
Well, I recall that when this last round of legislature was passed in the state of Florida to bring us up to speed with many other states and how they run their NIL, that there would be a new level of compliance that Florida State would have to broker between, a collective and themselves in the athletic department. So almost like, I don't know if they created a new position out of thin air, but remember 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when we were going through the Jameis Winston situation, and we realized that with Title IX requirements for universities, there are so many more layers of compliance that you need to follow if there is a complaint filed with the university. It's like it's separate than the legal process. Remember, you have to have all these other boxes checked. And we thought, wow, there must be people dedicated to this specific function. I feel that way now about a far less serious issue, but still one that's very important, with collective compliance and the monies. And I believe that's already in place once the law got signed in the state of Florida. But you're right. I wonder at what point it's assumed by the university. But at least now they can all talk to each other, and it could actually be on a phone record or an email chain, and it doesn't have to be, clandestine to suggest, oh, I like this guy. I like that that's where we are now. But you're right. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point they say, well, what are we doing? let's create the redundancy so there's just a wing of the football only facility or University Center D, and where it's just all taken care of and the process is streamlined with better communication.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating set of circumstances because, again, I think basically what we're getting to, and you think back to when we had Ingram on this week, CEO of the Battle's Inn. For people who missed that interview, go back and listen to it. I thought it was a good one. But he admitted, he's like, well, we have a special window right now. Mm-hmm. Right now is the window we have to get things accomplished. We've got, we're very fortunate. He didn't say this, but I'll say it, that we have a fluent booster who loves Florida State and wanted to step in and help out because he could. And then they've obviously been able to parlay that into roster retention success. They've also been able to use it to help lure other student athletes from other programs that see what's possible here. I know you can't be used as an inducement, but certainly any example that is given of what can happen if you're a football player here is seen and internalized. And why wouldn't you if you're a player? You'd be excited about what the possibilities are at a place like this because it's proven itself. Well, I think he says that because he knows if this gets internalized, then, everything changes. Maybe the Battle's Inn goes away. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they get hired and get brought into the university. Perhaps that's true too. I don't know, but I do wonder. I mean, a lot of these collectives are already folded and new ones have come around. It just happened at Florida. You saw there's a rumor that Ruiz is done at Miami, by the way.
Well, I mean, it's not a rumor that they missed their earnings call on March 31st and they've got real financial problems at life.
They've got horrible financial problems. And in addition to that, I mean, that clown has really embarrassed the university in a lot of ways. It's tough to embarrass Miami. They do it on their own every day, but they did. And now you hear whispers, just whispers. We don't know this, but whispers that he's going to walk away from that endeavor. And, that'd be pretty funny for a guy who is as boastful as he was. But yeah, these things are, it really is a fluid situation.
It is my sincere hope, and this isn't because the Battle's End helped sponsor today's golf tournament.
We're
playing right now. This is just private industry versus public industry. A lot of people who love economy and business they'll get fired up at a happy hour and they'll talk about this.
Yes, they will.
They have found through, I think, trial and error, a lot of collectives, a pathway and a system that is working. And Ingram and others that are associated with the Battle's End will say, they'll go so far on the record as to say, we could be as competitive as we need to be in this space, which means, quote unquote, that when you're looking at the biggest programs in the country, we will compete dollar for dollar with them at this point. I don't know if Clinton takes it to a place where we can't go, but at present, we are as competitive as anybody else in this space. I don't want the people who helped put us in this position as collectives to be cast aside for university personnel. Sorry. I'd rather have people who have been through the fights than this be reassigned to a new senior associate athletic director or something along those lines. I hope if that process comes, and it's down the line, it's not now. So go to thebattlesend.com now and help out and support, or stop by their tailgate tomorrow.
It's working.
They have been wonderful to us. They've been even better to this roster in terms of retention. I just hope that if that does happen, that the wisdom that we've gained through this first year of its existence, less than a year, is brought into the fold and it's not ignored for some other personnel.
Well, and part of that, Tom, is valuations of players and understanding the market and fighting to find out what a player is worth and not worth, because this has the potential to be a blank show and a free for all. And you've got to have a principled approach to this. I think it has to be multi-pronged. It's not just the money. It's teaching kids what to do with the money or how to use money and to your benefit. I think it's got to be a lot of things, and I think it is here right now. And that's how reputations get built. That's where a kid says, to another kid, you might be able to get some rogue booster at Arkansas to pay you more than you're making here because they're more desperate right now. they need a corner. They need whatever they need. And you know what? They may be throwing you an extra 50,000 that the Battle's End isn't willing to budge on. But you do realize that it's a fly by night over there. They're not as organized. They're not as involved in all the other aspects of you, what you are as a player, as a student, as a potential advertiser. You know, they show you the ropes here. So I'd go easy. I'd think a little bit more about what I'm going to do before I just take the extra 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. That if you have an organization that models itself in a way like the Battle's End has so far, I think reputation grows pretty quickly that you're more than just a bank.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I would say too, and this comes up an awful lot in salary cap sports, is like, where can I make the most money if I'm a player? And we always talk about tax-free states in terms of your income taxes. Well, let's just use a random SEC market like Arkansas, let's say. Arkansas has a state tax of 6.5%. So like these are things that I'm sure that 18, 19-year-olds are not considering, but Arkansas were bid 20, and how much is that really? Mm-hmm. How much is that really to the young man? And these are the kinds of things, the literacy that would go a long way. This is income now, man. You got to report it, you got to do what you got to do. But Florida does not have a state tax. Every dollar you get here goes a lot farther than many other states that are going to be competing for your services. So I just hope that, these kinds of conversations can continue, and also staying true to your own code and word. You never want to bid against yourselves. Miami has learned that the hard way, really hard way. You never want to bid against yourselves. And so I hope that if that transition ever happens, buddy, that you don't hear two guys preaching two different philosophies and then we're screwed for it, because then they're just going to call one or the other power broker at Florida State to get the better deal. You never want to have dysfunction at that level.
No, and they've been very organized, and football has been their focus. They do help golf as well, but it's good. I like that they're pretty singular. I like knowing that, for example, even Ingram admits, the Rising Spear has a place. If you want to support women's basketball or tennis or whatever it is that you a non-revenue sport that you feel pretty good about, that's fine too. Rising Spear has done good things for folks in those sports. But big boy football is not something that they're really engaging in, but Battle's End is. And so you kind of know, okay, well, I want my money to go to football, or I don't, whatever it is. That's where we're at now. I like that it's been clearly defined.
Yes. And again, it might change in a week, but where we sit right now, it's just amazing to think how, look, Mike Norvell he can cultivate relationships just in a room with any coach or kid or parent. Like, he has that skill. And that's great, because a lot of people are finding out for the first time in the last 12 months due to the COVID restrictions, like, oh, this guy's awesome. He's great. Hey, wait, he's not going to get fired because they're winning football games. All right. So I can trust sending a kid up there. He'll be there 3 years from now, unless he gets a better job offer from like the NFL or something. Mike's not getting fired. And then on top of it, oh, wow, wait a minute. So this doesn't blow you out of the water as an NIL figure. We're not hanging up the phone. It's just remarkable to think about how far we've come in this situation, talking on the show about what's possible over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of signing class rankings and then on-field rankings. The projections can go very, very high for both, and it's probably unfathomable if you teleported back to April 14th of last year and said the same thing, that this is what's going to happen.
We didn't get a chance to mention it on yesterday's show, but Florida State lost a commit. There was a decommit from a safety, 4-star kid that a lot of people were excited about, and he decommitted behind the scenes. It kind of shocked nobody. Behind the scenes, Florida State kind of understood that this was going to happen. It seems like that relationship between the two parties had cooled. Yep. And that's fine so long as you are able to replace it with somebody, though. I will say we are going to be watching very closely as it pertains to high school recruits, what they are able to do. It is the final hurdle. They've got to close on some. I mean, I'm not the guy that's prattling on about everybody has to be a 5-star, but let's be honest, if you're going to compete for national championships, you better have a really high-ranking class.
I agree, but this is where, again, you're better positioned on all fronts to make a compelling pitch to a young man. And I think that even extends to the position coach. We have not seen Patrick Surtain go to work just yet, but he has those relationships down there, being from Heritage, and then obviously having the pedigree that he has, a 2-generation pedigree at the NFL level. So I'm not necessarily worried about that position group. Maybe I could be proven to be wrong if we're sitting here in November and there aren't solutions. But for the Jordan Pride case, I mean, if you're not a part of the class, then get out of the class, and let's allow that to be seen by the rest of the recruiting community, so that there is no miscommunication. There is no assumption that Florida State doesn't have a spot for me. Let's chat. Let's talk. And if you're not going to be a part of it, then you may be a very talented player who is an All-American, and it sucks that you didn't want to be here, but go. Get the hell out of the conversation and let's move forward.
It will be a topic next week when we get done with the spring game and they get done with their final practice on Monday. I don't think it'll be much longer after that before the whispers begin about the comings and goings of players. And I don't know. I've theorized for a couple of weeks now that the spring of hurt feelings will do just that. And there'll be a few guys on this roster that maybe surprise you, that decide their future is elsewhere. And there will be a few guys that perhaps, at other universities are currently looking at Florida State as a possibility that we're interested in as well. So the comings and goings, as I say, that's the next storyline after we finish the spring game tomorrow, which is, that too is exciting. It's a lot like the NFL. You've said that before, where we're getting into this year-round talking point of college football. It's crazy. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Back for more in just a moment.
Injured? Call Basic Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. We've all heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with complete pre-approval underwriting. It used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, so why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now. 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Conferences to call away. 222-7722. Heating and cooling is the job we do. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes operating to keep system at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails. And a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. Florida license number CMC 050334.
Parker Services. Conferences to call away. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Did you know that when you order food delivery through third parties like Uber Eats and Bite Squad, local restaurants lose up to 30% of their own revenue, and you're actually sending your money to corporate bank accounts in California? Well, now you can truly support our locally owned restaurants by ordering directly from foodiestakeout.com. Choose from delicious options like El Jalisco, Smitty's Tap House, Hangar 38, Jerry's Cafe, and many more. With Foodies Takeout and Delivery, we can actually put our money where our mouth is. Order your next fresh meal today at foodiestakeout.com.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk radio show. Tune in every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. where I provide clear answers to all your questions about Medicare.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Jeff Cameron Show on Libations Friday. Good to be with you. Thanks for being here, listening to us. We're golfing. This isn't live, but it is new. So there you go. We wanted something to be out there. It is the day before the spring game, which is excitedly, I must say, tomorrow. We'll be at the Hotel Indigo broadcasting live for the pregame show beginning at 1 o'clock. Tom and myself. And you can swing on by, enjoy the cash bar and game day buffet service. So it's all good. 826 West Gain Street. It is right there with all the other good stuff going on in that area. College Town is it's transformed Florida State's game day experience considerably. And I think Hotel Indigo has done the same for our pregame show. It is a fabulous locale overlooking the beautiful stadium that is Doak Campbell Stadium. And I also love watching the intramural fields fill up. It gives you a sense of the energy that is beginning to build for any particular game or lack thereof. But, it just depends on the game. But, yeah, I love it. I love it. And you will too. That open air, that breeze, and that cold beverage, get ready to watch a little football. Yes, sir. Hotel Indigo, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Doors open at 12:30.
And we will be live today, meaning Warchant TV is going to be live today at 4 o'clock from the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. So there is an hour of new content that you're watching right now. But if you like that live feel, live TV, there's nothing like it. It starts at 4 o'clock from the Corner Pocket post round. So that should be interesting. Probably a lot of tired bodies at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill 4 o'clock on a Friday, but can't wait to host that. You will be with the headlines guys. It's a special headlines edition of it. Actually, it's probably the better way to brand it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a good time out there. And I'm sure maybe a lot of loud folks in the background enjoying the weather.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody will be talking about the day of golf and then also the game itself. And that's fine with me, man. It's a good weekend. And we all get to exhale probably next week. Yesterday when I asked Joshua Farmer, whether or not he was going to take a little break from football. And then he goes, not too long. I might come up for air, but I'm not. Yeah, I might take a little respite, but then I'm going to get back after it. He's hungry.
But that's another way that competition helps you as a roster is you can't take 3-4 weeks off. If you were the only guy, if Josh Farmer was it, and there was a whole bunch of other guys, nobody special, then maybe he would. Maybe it'd be an extended vacation. Who's coming for my spot? But because he's got to think about Fabian Lovett and Darrell Jackson and Braden Fisk and Ayobami Tafasi, who, it took a couple weeks, but once he joined, he's made an impact. Daniel Lyons. I mean, you go down the list. I believe Malcolm Ray's still on the roster. He's just hurt, and he was part of that rotation before as well. Every snap matters, and every snap can mean extra money for you at the next level. Forget retention money at the next level. So you got to be ready. And that's where competition is great. It keeps everybody honest for much longer periods of time.
I read in The Athletic, I think it was, no, I know it was. I read in The Athletic, they had a spring football preview for every team in the ACC. Well, they had it for the SEC, the ACC, all the schools. So I was going through it, and for Florida State, the question was, can the Seminoles handle the hype? So, like, in some places, it's, about a quarterback change or the new coaching staff at Georgia Tech or whatever. But for here, it was, can Florida State handle the preseason hype? And I just find that lazy and silly. And I don't even, I don't know of anybody, expectations or not, that have ever gone to work and just thought, like, can I handle trying to be my best? Like, you just go be your best and the rest will take care of itself. Like, I think that's got to be the message, right? Like, yeah, we want to win and we think we're going to win and we think we're really good and we want all the things that come to really good teams.
Yeah, if you have all those goals in front of you, I don't think there's anything to worry about with the squad overall. And, another thing that keeps everybody honest is that your first 4 games are the 2 most important games of the season. So you can't, there is no cheat day. No, you can't put a 3-4 days back to back to back to back and do nothing because the test comes immediately. And I love that, but I will lend a little bit of credence to this question. And the reason I say that is because the Florida game and the Oklahoma game were against 2 6-6 teams, teams that finished with losing records. And it looked like we got hit in the mouth and didn't know what to do for a couple of drives where, my God, this team in the trenches is going to do this to us. And it was both ways. It wasn't just the defensive line getting run on, and they did. It wasn't just the offensive line giving up pass pressures on Jordan Travis. They did. It was consistent where there was kind of like a wake-up call. We responded, and we finished the game right. But I think what you're going to see with the hype comes the best shot from every opponent on the schedule. So what you might even see in the film room doesn't indicate what kind of effort they're going to give you the week that you play them. It might not be on film. They're going to play over their heads because it's like Florida State of old. They might do well to bring in guys from, the 29 straight or the entirety of the 90s to say, yeah, the film's not going to tell you the way these folks are going to play when you go on the road to Pitt or when you go on the road to insert team name here. And I think that's where the living up to the hype actually presents a challenge, not on the maturity front of are you committed day in and day out. I'm not worried about the latter part. The former, I think there is a little something to that.
But I think that's remedied by the fact that they're better and deeper. Like, I don't think that we, yes, I think there may have been moments where we were slow to start. Maybe they weren't as locked in as they needed to be because the record of the team they were playing or something. Maybe, but don't. For people who see that and they think, oh, well, that's true. Well, yeah, go look at how many players are going to get drafted. The guard at Florida that was manhandling Verse and the tackle, they're going in the NFL in those 2 rounds. Oklahoma's got a ton of NFL talent. Both those schools, for example, have recruited better than Florida State for a sustained period of time. They just happen to have bad seasons under a new coaching staff. But I don't, they had good players. They had really good players. So, and they were motivated. Florida was motivated as the underdog to come in here and not get blown out. And Oklahoma was motivated to have a winning season.
That's what I'm saying. And Oklahoma was missing 3 or 4 offensive linemen, though, and they had a lot of inexperience. And that's where it's inexcusable to me.
But we weren't as deep as we're going to be now. That defensive line now would have a little bit more to say about it.
I agree. They would. But the idea that you're saying at the end there, they were motivated for X reason or the other reason. And that's when your season can be made by beating Florida State. I mean, to the young pups that listen to the show, they don't know what that means. I do, because I grew up in the 90s. My sister went here, so I cared about the university. You were here for it. You saw it. And then there was a brief little window about 4 or 5 years in there where that was the case. And you would see when you go play on the road at night against a middle-tier ACC team, those fans are rabid for 1 week a year.
Yeah, they want that game, yeah.
That's coming back, and that does change things just a little bit. So
they're froggy. They'll get after you a little bit, yeah. And if you fool around and let them hang around, you're going to have a problem on your hands because they begin to believe and the fans get into it and all that. Yeah, I agree. There's a maturity that comes with expectations that you have to have. There's a understanding of who you are. Again, We all roll our eyes at Duke for all those years with basketball, but I can say the same for Alabama. I do admire the best coaches weather the storm of the upset-minded foe and the ferocity with which the fans are geared up for that game, and they get their team to understand you're better, you're bigger, stronger, faster. We've got to execute. Settle down. They're riding high on emotion right now. Don't let one quarter become 2 quarters, becomes 3 quarters. Now we got a problem in the 4th quarter.
Well, think about the NC State game. It's a great example. The defense did its job. The defense completely did its job. Hell,
Yes,
they knocked the quarterback out, and But you think about the drops, the turnovers, the Mastromano play that it would take 5 minutes to describe everything that went wrong with it. The last good thing that they did in that game, I believe this was the proper game, was the fake punt return and the execution on that allowed Fitzy to try a kick just before half. Like that, that was roses. That was great. From that point on, a whole lot of mistakes leading to mistakes and this contagiousness that puts an NC State team that doesn't have a Power 5 quarterback on the field in a position to win. And it's like you say you invent a way to lose, or you would invent a way for it to be a game in the 4th quarter. That's where, when you're not mature, things like that can happen. But it does mean that if losing in the quarter on the road at Wake or Duke comes down 2nd quarter, it's 10-7. That doesn't mean they're not doing their job. Wait till the end of the game. If we win by a couple scores, then the lesson was learned and applied. So, but that's the fun part of this year is that's not good enough now. If you have too many close games against a Duke or a Wake or somebody else, that doesn't cut it anymore. It's not just about winning the game. It's about how you win.
Yeah, and we talked about that some this week, and I think that's the next step for Mike. I do bring it up often, but Mike is a young coach. He's a very young coach, and he, too, is maturing. I think we're witnessing him mature. It'd be one thing for me to say he needs to get more mature and not see evidence of it. That would be problematic. But I've said it before, and yet I'm seeing evidence of it. Now, his greatest attribute besides his football acumen, and I think he has a pretty elite football acumen. He understands offensive football. But I think his greatest attribute is his consistency. And I just think players know what they're getting from Mike Norvell every day. And so he's to be lauded for that. But you and I have pointed out that in games, certain situations, red zones in particular, clock management a couple times, some things like that, these are the things that bite you in the biggest games of the year against a equal or as talented opponent. You can't continue to fumble those things or get lost in the moment or have it be too big because you're not accustomed to it yet. That's got to go away now. You got to be buttoned up and consistent there too.
And it happens to just about every coach, and it's just we always are aghast at why and how that could be. You spend so much money on every detail, and then you blow simple things like Saban did in Austin, Texas this year, where he tried to lose the game with poor situational management in each half.
No, it was unbelievable. He butchered it.
It doesn't happen to Nick. So that's why it's stunning. But now he's, it's not the first time something like that's happened. Recently in the national championship game, everybody knew he was going to try a block kick or a fake kick. And it was almost like Dabo was grinning and laughing on the sidelines, like, watch this. They're going to try a fake.
Well, he did it against Auburn, the kick 6. Yeah, he's had his moments where you're like, whoa, that's not what you do, partner.
So it even happens to the best. But, the 4th down decision-making, the lack of consistency there, I think there's a lot more gut than he's willing to admit in those calls.
I also think there was a lot of – and this he gets credit for. He played to win the game to a fault. I mean, my man, I do believe my man plays to win games. Like, he'll take chances that if they fail, you're going to get blown out. And he's not about the final score to win this game. And the only way we can, because we're outmanned in the past, we're outmanned. I got to keep the ball. My defense ain't going to get a stop here. We all know that. It's 4th and 1. Yeah. I'll take a bet that I can get this yard better than I can get a stop, a 3 and out, and good field position. Like, I'm not going to have it. I'm going to, we're not going to get a stop. Nobody catches the damn punt, and I'm going to have to start on my own 18 again. I'm at their 40 right now. It's 4th and 2 right now. I can get 2 yards. I'm going to bet that we can, and it's how we can win. Now, I don't think he has to play that way anymore. He'll always be aggressive, and I like that he's forward-thinking, and I like that he consults the analytics. He understands fourth down math. That's all important. He doesn't always follow it, but he understands it. But he doesn't have to do that now. We're the better team, and 90+% of the games we're going to play next year. I mean, we may not be the better team in maybe only 2 games. Maybe Clemson's better. I don't know. We'll see. Clemson was marginally better this past year than Florida State, if that. And then LSU might be better. They have more 5-star players on their roster than we do. So, and they have a good coach. So they might be slightly better. Nobody else is.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's had a juggernaut in a Group of 5 conference, and
Right.
Memphis was. They didn't play much defense there. Those games against Cincinnati, that first one especially, I think was the shootout where you're just like, oh my God, this is the last team that has the ball. That was when game day was in Memphis. But little things, when you have the better team, you could simplify. You don't have to get cute.
Yeah, bigger, stronger, faster.
If we're going to call a gadget on the goal line, let it be third down when first and second have failed. Okay, I got you. At that point,
yeah,
it's very disappointing that on first and second down, we cannot traditionally succeed the way we need to. But if we haven't and we're here on third, then no big deal. But I don't know that there's a reason to have to win the game right here, right now in the second quarter if you've got the better players. Let's not invite a rally or momentum in these kids' brains that was not going to be there if you pooch it down inside the 5-yard line and let your defense go to work. It's a very different game. You're playing with a lead in a way, and that's okay. Use that pressure against the opponent. You can't know it until he's in these situations in the fall, so we can't know how that's going to pan out. But just the number one red flag for me is, are we trying to get cutesy too much? And I hope that's not, because we have a lot of toys to do it with, but you don't need to when you have this kind of beef. Let that fail before you try to be cute.
Yeah, and I want people to understand that I don't think that, lining up your running back at quarterback is getting cute. It's a numbers game, and that's fine. If you're going to line him up, say Trey Benson on the 2, and you want to run that, I'm okay with that.
Get Jordan off the field if you're going to do that, though. Let's go. I get you want to spread one guy out and take 1-for-1 now. It's 10 on 10. But, I mean, I agree, though. It's power. There is power and physicality that comes with a wildcat look in a 3rd and 1 or on a goal line. And he's done it a bunch with Jay-Sean. Dating back to Jay-Sean, they did it a bunch.
Yeah.
But you don't need to do the whipsy-doo double end around, kind of like,
yeah.
Ooh, let me snap it directly to an end around to Micah Pittman. Like, this does not need to be the case anymore.
No, it drives me nuts. And I think of a certain quote from Warren Sapp many moons ago about being down on the goal line when we were trying to trick teams when we were on the come up before winning the Super Bowl. And he had a few harsh words about the style of play down there and what we weren't. And instead what we were, as he described it. And, he may have caught hell for that, but I was like, you are correct. We're running reverses on the 1. I, too, would call that such and such football. Yep. I don't. That's not what we do. But again, yeah, he does have options, but, man, they're all behemoths. They're behemoth options. I'm going to go bigger than you thought I could get. I'm going to get even bigger. They can throw a lot of humanity at you.
We had an old promo. We had a promo that only ran late nights for that on the old station.
Yeah,
to say that north was one of the words that we would use.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can go unbalanced, you can go heavy, and you can go really heavy. I mean, they can get big if they want, and they should. I mean, that's why you bring these guys in. A lot of those guys want to be playing more football, not less football. They may get opportunities down there at the goal line if they're a non-starter,
Right, and if you're stuffed at 1st and goal from the 2 by LSU, I mean, you're not going to win every rep.
Yeah,
hell, you're not going to win it every rep in practice up the gut against this defensive front. But I do want to see what those guys do. Let's not concede that we cannot do it. Let's find out if we can do it. And that's, again, it's very different to be playing from ahead in any sport. And we're going to be playing from ahead in a lot of our games this year. It's just very nice that the first one is going to grab your attention in all facets, and you don't have to worry about kids horsing around, because LSU will embarrass you if you treat it like an also ran week.
Well, and remember, and we'll be reminded of it. We have all summer, but as the game gets closer, I think LSU, that ate at them. That pissed them off. You know, they had made that comeback, and we saw Coach Kelly learn from his mistake in that game later on in the year against Alabama. He went for 2 when he had a chance to put it away. He took that opportunity because their defense was reeling and they were tired. And he is the same scenario. And he's like, I'm not doing this again. And not because he thought the extra point would be blocked, but because he had the opportunity to go win the game. And then he did. Well, he didn't do that against us. And I bet that eats at him and every LSU fan that is out there that can hear this. They're all mad that they lost that game. Never mind that we controlled the vast majority of it. The bottom line was the fourth quarter, we fumbled down there on the 1 and gave them every opportunity to go win the game, and we were beat. We were tired. Our hands were on our knees, and he could have walked in my opinion, had he gone for 2. They're going to want this one. Not that they didn't want it last year. They're going to want it. They're the aggrieved, sir. They lost.
Mm-hmm.
They lost. They're the aggrieved.
Bohica, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but there's no doubt they'll be coming for blood, and that's great. I love that it has our undivided attention. It has to. Yep. The film and the player. I mean, they won the SEC West. I mean, they're good. They'll have our attention. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the 3rd one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Ultra short segment here. Tom and I got to talking, and we went really long, but we do have to get our sponsors in here and our advertisers. They're just due. But before we go to hour number 2, again, a reminder, those interviews will run that I did yesterday with Dimitri Emanuel and Joshua Farmer. Those are coming up if you missed those yesterday. They're good interviews. I think you're going to want to hear them. And then there's a little sprinkling of a best of in there. We want to thank, of course, our friends at the Second Harvest, who we're with right now. But we want to thank the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, home to Tallahassee's best wings, coldest beer, and most TVs. We're at the Corner Pocket probably right now as you're listening to this. The Battles Inn came up huge for us, and they're hosting an autograph signing and tailgate event outside Doak Campbell Stadium tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's only about an hour long, so you're going to want to get there in terms of the autograph portion of their tailgate. You're going to want to get there right away. If you can't, just go to thebattlesinn.com and help them out in their efforts to provide what Florida State athletes need, football and golf. Terry's Pool Service, get your pools looking right. Go to terryspools.net. Zaxby's. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Zaxby's. 5 area Zaxby's. They've been supporting Florida State as a Golden Chief booster for 20 years. You go support your Zaxby's, folks. Tri-Eagle Sales, thank you so much, guys. Those tasty beverages provided by our friends at Tri-Eagle were on display at the course today. Bud Light, Seltzer Sangria. Give it a try on number 10. Food sponsor, Metro Deli. Doff the cap to you guys, as well as Gordo's and all our other great restaurants. We love you. Metro Deli has been here serving this community for over 20 years as well. And a hole-in-one sponsor in Proctor Dealerships. And by now, Tom, we know who won the 2023 Honda Ridgeline line if somebody did. So pretty cool.
I hope somebody did. 155. That's doable. Come on, guys.
Yeah, very doable is right. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with. We'll talk to you in just a minute. Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.